The dinar daily begins now. For a considerable length of time, a vast community of Iraqi dinar holders has been anticipating a pivotal moment, a substantial change in how their foreign currency is handled within major financial systems. That change, long speculated and often dismissed, now appears to be manifesting in a concrete, documented shift across some of the most prominent banking institutions in the United States. This is no longer merely an unconfirmed rumor circulating on the internet or limited, temporary pilot program. It represents a verifiable update in policy regarding the processing of Iraqi dinar notes, including the widely discussed 25,000 denomination. This development signals a significant recalibration in how a major and historically controversial foreign currency is being treated by established U.S. finance. The core question for everyday individuals who possess the Iraqi dinar is centered on the real-world impact of this institutional shift. Could this acceptance by major U.S. banks finally be the initial indication of the long-awaited normalization for the dinar? The information emerging from bank policy updates and confirmed customer experiences warrants a deeper investigation to understand the mechanisms at play within these financial giants, the necessary precautions that dinar holders should adopt, and the potential implications for the currency's trajectory as the financial landscape moves toward 2025. It's an unfolding situation that demands careful scrutiny and adherence to factual reporting. To grasp the full weight of this news, it is necessary to recall the history of the Iraqi dinar market over the past decade and a half. Since the early 2000s, this market has been a continuous source of both great hope and profound frustration for those who purchased the notes. Many investors acquired the dinar with the fundamental belief that a future Iraqi economic recovery would lead to a significant revaluation of the currency, thereby increasing the value of their holdings dramatically. However, as the years passed, major U.S. banks adopted an increasingly cautious stance, often refusing to conduct exchanges or process higher denomination notes like the 25,000 IQD bills, citing concerns over authenticity, a lack of international demand, and the unpredictable nature of Iraqi monetary policy at the time. For many years, the Iraqi dinar was relegated to a marginal status, often perceived more as a collectible item than as a serious, internationally tradable currency. That long-standing perception, however, is now under review as new information confirms that major banks are demonstrably altering their acceptance policies. This change in policy is a dramatic turn, which could fundamentally reshape how both U.S. and global financial markets perceive the credibility and stability of Iraq's national currency.
The shift is subtle but undeniable, pointing towards a new chapter in the dinar's interaction with the Western financial world. The crucial inquiry then becomes, what specific changes have precipitated this major institutional shift? According to credible internal reports and validated experiences shared by customers, Wells Fargo, a banking titan, has begun accepting 5,000 dinar notes across numerous branches in various U.S. states. These reported actions are being described as more than just isolated incidents. They suggest a synchronized and deliberate update in the bank's operational policy regarding foreign currency. This move by Wells Fargo has reportedly been mirrored by Chase Bank, which has also updated its own foreign currency guidelines to be inclusive of large dinar denominations. Simultaneously, Bank of America has also entered this new sphere, reportedly beginning the process of dinar transactions for established customers who successfully meet predefined criteria. In layman's terms, institutions that once strictly informed customers they would not engage with the Iraqi dinar are now confirming their ability to process these transactions. A shift of this magnitude is not the result of spontaneous, fragmented decisions. It strongly implies a coordinated action, greater regulatory clarity, and a newly established confidence in the underlying strength and modernization of Iraq's financial system. The most remarkable element of this development is the rapid speed with which this policy shift has begun to roll out. These changes started to appear only within the last few months, indicating what could be a genuinely pivotal and transformative moment for individuals holding the dinar across the United States. This quick implementation suggests that the groundwork for this acceptance must have been laid well in advance, and at a trigger point, likely relating to international financial compliance or confidence, has been reached. A closer examination of the operational details reveals how these exchanges are being managed by the institutions. At Wells Fargo, specific, highly trained personnel at select branches are now prepared and equipped to verify and process the dinar notes. This verification process is rigorous, involving a meticulous inspection of advanced security features embedded within the notes, such as watermarks, color-shifting ink, and serial numbering, all conducted to ensure absolute authenticity and compliance. Chase Bank, on the other hand, is adopting a more focused and measured approach, concentrating its dinar services primarily on branches situated in states known to have larger Middle Eastern communities. Their typical procedure for foreign currency transactions often involves the necessity of scheduling an appointment well in advance. This requirement is in place to ensure that the process is meticulously documented, handled securely, and properly managed by specialized staff. Bank of America, in contrast, has proceeded with greater caution, electing to offer dinar exchange services predominantly to long-term, existing customers who possess well-established financial relationships with the bank. It must be clearly understood that these new foreign currency acceptance policies are not yet uniform across every single branch of these massive financial
networks. Nevertheless, the unmistakable and compelling trend of growing acceptance is clearly visible and expanding at a noticeable pace. For years, the mere notion of major U.S. banks routinely accepting the dinar was widely considered to be an impossibility, a relic of an over-optimistic speculation. Now, that impossibility is slowly but surely transforming into a concrete reality. However, it is fundamentally important to draw a distinct and clear line. Bank acceptance of the currency does not automatically constitute a revaluation. The action of exchanging a currency at its current, fluctuating market rate is entirely different from the Central Bank of Iraq officially revaluing the currency to a significantly higher rate. The very act of acceptance, however, serves as a powerful and undeniable signal of growing confidence. When financial institutions of the scale of Wells Fargo, Chase, and Bank of America begin treating a foreign currency as a legitimate, tradable asset, rather than a questionable or purely speculative novelty, it demonstrates an increasing trust in the corresponding nation's overall economic stability and long-term viability. This rising institutional trust is precisely what is being observed in the context of Iraq. The Central Bank of Iraq has been engaged in a sustained, intensive effort to modernize its entire banking infrastructure, bolster security protocols, and ensure greater accessibility of the dinar on international financial platforms. The recent updates in U.S. bank policies strongly suggest that these long-term efforts are yielding tangible, positive results. It appears that Iraq's currency is slowly being integrated back into the mainstream of global circulation and is achieving recognition within major financial systems worldwide. The reasoning behind this sudden and noticeable shift in institutional policy is multifaceted, involving several key factors converging simultaneously. Firstly, Iraq's ambitious and sustained economic reform initiatives have increasingly captured favorable international attention. The nation has successfully stabilized its vital oil production, systematically paid down significant portions of its outstanding foreign debt obligations, and consistently worked to fortify its foreign currency reserves, creating a stronger financial foundation. Secondly, global financial institutions have expressed greater confidence in the efficacy and integrity of Iraq's regulatory systems. This enhanced trust is particularly notable following the country's significant, internationally recognized improvements to its anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing frameworks, which has addressed a key historical concern for Western banks. This regulatory clarity provides a secure environment for major financial transactions. Thirdly, as the global financial community actively searches for new, viable emerging markets, Iraq has strategically positioned itself as a nation with substantial potential for significant economic growth and expansion. These collective, positive changes have collectively made it simpler and more justifiable for major banks to engage in dinar transactions. A shifting U.S. policy environment, which increasingly favors greater financial openness toward foreign currencies with verifiable trade demand, has also encouraged this transition. When all these factors, economic stability, regulatory compliance, and a strategic market position converge, the resulting observable effect is this cautious yet undeniable movement toward currency normalization. For individuals holding the Iraqi dinar who are closely monitoring this news, the most pressing practical question is the mechanics of exchanging the notes now that acceptance has become a reality. The most critical initial action is to contact your specific bank and branch ahead of time. It is unwise to simply arrive at a branch with a large quantity of notes, as policies can undo very significantly from one location to another, and not all branches are currently equipped or trained to manage these specialized foreign exchange transactions. Individuals should anticipate the need for an existing bank account, a current and valid form of government identification, and, in certain circumstances, documentation proving the legitimate source and acquisition of the dinar notes. These requirements are standard operating procedure designed to fully comply with international anti-money laundering regulations. Once the notes have been successfully verified and authenticated, the banks will process the exchange at the current prevailing market rate, and absolutely not at any rumored or speculated revaluation rate. Exchange rates are dynamic and fluctuate constantly throughout the day, so timing is a consideration. While some banks may process smaller exchanges relatively quickly, large denominations or total amounts may require a longer period, possibly several business days, for verification and final clearance through the bank's dedicated foreign exchange department. Looking ahead, the increased acceptance from major U.S. banks fundamentally signals a return of legitimacy for Iraq's currency on the world stage. For years, the dinar existed in a state of ambiguity, technically a real currency, but functionally excluded from mainstream global commerce. This is now changing as banks begin to treat it with the same protocols and procedures applied to other foreign currencies. This newfound legitimacy could encourage a resurgence of interest from other investors. This potential increase in interest could, in turn, contribute to greater global liquidity for the dinar, which may exert upward pressure on its market value over an extended period. Furthermore, this trend strengthens Iraq's essential economic relationships with Western financial markets, a long-term goal that the Iraqi government has been actively and deliberately pursuing. Each additional bank that officially adds the dinar to its list of accepted currencies marks another progressive step toward full economic normalization for the nation of Iraq. This normalization is a systemic process, not a singular event, and the speed of its current progression is outpacing the predictions of many financial experts. The concrete, real-world examples of successful exchanges underscore the reality of this policy shift. Reports from individuals in various U.S. states confirm successful transactions. For instance, one dinar holder in Texas reported exchanging a significant sum at a Wells Fargo branch,
a process that involved meticulous authentication before the funds were successfully deposited. Similarly, multiple Chase locations in Florida have reportedly processed smaller exchanges for account holders without any documented issues. These testimonials are vitally important as they move the discussion from the theoretical to the tangible. The policy shift is genuinely in effect right now, and its operational footprint is expanding rapidly. However, isolated instances of being turned away by an informed staff or at branches not yet fully trained do still occur, emphasizing the necessity of proactive verification and clear communication before visiting a bank. Considering this from a broader global economic perspective, Iraq has been focused on restructuring its economy after many decades of profound instability. With oil exports now stabilized and international trade partnerships continually expanding, the groundwork for currency credibility has been meticulously laid. The reintroduction of dinar acceptance by major Western banks may be interpreted as one of the most powerful signals yet that Iraq's economy is successfully achieving a necessary level of maturity and integration. This key development may also motivate other countries and international banks to consider recognizing or trading the dinar with greater openness and confidence. Such a long-term shift could strategically fortify Iraq's financial standing, effectively attract crucial foreign investment, and significantly improve global confidence in its entire monetary system. Consequently, The significance of this news transcends individual dinar holders. It represents a strategic victory for the nation of Iraq and its economic future. A necessary and important topic to address is the long-held speculation regarding a currency revaluation, commonly referred to as the RV. Many people immediately link this bank acceptance news to an imminent RV. The clear, factual answer is that the bank news, in itself, does not signal that a revaluation is about to occur. Currency revaluations are macroeconomic policy decisions, strictly controlled by the Central Bank of Iraq, not by the operational decisions of individual U.S. commercial banks. What is currently being observed is a vital increase in acceptance and financial integration, which is essentially the groundwork of the necessary foundation that would enable any future revaluation to be logistically possible and effective. This acceptance should be viewed as an early structural sign of potential future developments. If Iraq maintains its trajectory of improving economic output, continues to manage inflation effectively, and strengthens its key trade relationships, a more valuable dinar in the future remains a realistic, long-term outcome. However, the exact timing of any such event remains inherently unpredictable. Therefore, the recommended course of action for individuals holding the dinar is one of careful preparation and sustained patience. If your local bank is confirmed to be participating in this new policy shift, dedicate time to verify the specific requirements for an exchange. It is advisable to maintain your notes in pristine condition, clean, unfolded, and stored securely. Always be prepared with necessary identification and any supporting documentation that can legitimately prove the purchase and source of your dinar. If a large exchange is planned, a prudent approach is to consider breaking the total amount into smaller, separate transactions, potentially utilizing multiple banks where policies permit. It is absolutely essential to maintain detailed records for tax purposes, as currency exchanges resulting in a gain are unequivocally considered taxable events in the United States, subject to standard income or capital gains tax. The smartest individuals are those who balance justifiable optimism with a necessary degree of caution and meticulous organization. A moment must be dedicated to the issue of taxation. When any foreign currency is exchanged and a profit, even a small one, is realized, the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, classifies this as a taxable event. The gain accrued from the exchange could be subject to either regular income tax or capital gains tax, depending on the specifics of the holding period and amount. Therefore, maintaining exceptionally detailed receipts and comprehensive bank records for every single transaction is mandatory. Financial experts often advise
keeping both digital and physical copies of all paperwork to ensure preparedness for any future tax audit or reporting requirement. It is strongly recommended to consult with a qualified tax professional or financial advisor before executing any large-scale currency exchanges. Being meticulously prepared with paperwork will provide security and protect against unnecessary stress or potential penalties, especially if larger financial events were to occur in the future. Looking toward the broader landscape of 2025, several key factors: Iraq's forthcoming national budget, the trajectory of global oil pricing, and new international trade agreements will exert a massive influence on the dinar's market value. With an ongoing increase in foreign reserves and continuous improvement in financial transparency, Iraq is steadily and systematically restoring trust and credibility on the international stage. If this positive trend of economic and regulatory improvement continues, it is highly probable that even more U.S. and international banks will follow suit and begin accepting the dinar. This would represent a global return to financial recognition for a currency that was, for a time, written off as financially non-viable. Every policy update, every new oil contract, and every move made by the Central Bank of Iraq contributes another piece to this complex, unfolding financial puzzle. The narrative surrounding the Iraqi dinar is undeniably shifting. When major, established financial institutions begin to accept a currency that has long been viewed through a lens of extreme speculation, it transforms the entire conversation. It changes a narrative rooted in mere hope into one that is gaining credibility. For years, skeptics maintained that the dinar would never again be accepted by major Western institutions. Yet, Factual evidence now confirms that some of the largest banks in the United States are officially and carefully processing these notes. This change in institutional sentiment alone has the potential to attract new interest, spark informed discussions, and inject renewed energy into the market. It is a powerful reminder that genuine, lasting progress, while sometimes slow to materialize, can fundamentally alter an entire market when it arrives. It is imperative that dinar holders remain informed and maintain a realistic perspective as this story continues to develop. The key guidance remains to follow official and verified updates from your banks, prioritize official announcements from Iraqi central authorities, and strictly avoid social media rumors or any exaggerated, speculative predictions. The dinar market has always been susceptible to hype, but the current phenomenon is a tangible, measurable policy change by major institutions. Focus on verifiable facts, monitor the oil markets, observe Iraq's structural reforms, and track how other banks respond in the coming months. The more informed and fact-driven you are, the better positioned you will be as this next phase of the dinar's story unfolds. It is also important to consider the broader global economic context of this shift. The world is in a new phase of monetary diversification, where nations are actively rebalancing currency dependencies and exploring new trade partnerships. In this dynamic environment, Iraq's resurgence into the global financial conversation is a strategic move. With substantial oil reserves, mineral wealth, and an emerging private sector, Iraq holds the potential to become a serious regional and international economic power. The growing acceptance of the dinar by Western banks serves to accelerate that long-term vision. For the U.S. banks themselves, this move is a pragmatic decision, expanding their offerings to include new exchange opportunities and allowing them to tap into emerging market foreign exchange services. In essence, the continuity of this process offers potential gains for all involved parties. In conclusion of today's report, the acceptance of the Iraqi dinar by Wells Fargo, Chase, and Bank of America represents a historic and significant milestone in a financial story that has spanned nearly 2 decades. While this is not the final conclusion, it is one of the most substantial and positive developments yet. This institutional change provides clear evidence that confidence in the stability and future of Iraq's currency is slowly, steadily, and surely returning to the mainstream financial world. For all individuals who hold the Iraqi dinar, this remains a crucial time to remain vigilant, operate with caution, and sustain a fact-based optimism. This has been the Dinar Daily, providing you with factual clarity and updates you can trust.